Bienvenidos, fans of cinema worldwide. Welcome once again to another installment of Enfuegotainment here in our second cycle of summer blockbuster coverage. And I have a full crew once again, and we're just going to roll down the line. First off,
I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Andrew Mercer.
And I'm Marcia Parker.
That's right, my horror show cohorts are back again for us to cover something that might be considered borderline horrific in some of the brutality that we saw within it. Guys, today we were talking about Hardcore Henry.
Do you remember how you got here? This next part might hurt. Squeeze? You and I were, we still are, husband and wife. I love you, Henry.
Henry, they want your technology.
How do you like the new you?
The chute! Hold the chute! Hold on, Henry! Henry, fight back! You're capable of more than you think! Henry!
I'm here to help you. Is your speech module installed? But at least we know you're not deaf. Okay, well the good news is that you're gonna live a while. The bad news is there's an army standing between you and your wife. So let's go get her.
Yeah. And it was originally called Hardcore. And then they tagged on this Henry line after there was like this bidding war after it was seen at either Sundance or TFF, one of those. But bidding war ensued, and then in turn, it's finally hitting theaters. But it's POV shoot 'em up for anyone who ever played
First person.
Yes, Doom or Quake or even Call of Duty, right, Andrew?
Oh yeah, lots of reminiscence of kind of video game-esque first person shoot 'em up. I mean, it pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, totally. And we always do a little bit of Bueno, Malo, and Feo here on Enfuegotainment. So something good, something bad, and something ugly. And Bueno, first and foremost for me, is that we finally saw this actually become a film, something from this perspective. I've been playing Doom, and most notably, the one that I really fell in love with, many people don't know, it was called Rise of the Triad. We called it Rot back in the day. And it was either 3D Realms or ID Software, or one of those if I remember, but same time as Quake, and it just instilled that love of feeling like you're right there with the character as you're running around taking on soldiers or monsters or whatever the hell it was. And the first-person format in this, I felt like it really was effective. What'd you think, Cecil?
Yeah, I thought it was definitely effective. It was definitely, as Fuego put it, it was relentless. It was the whole time, man.
I kept saying it over and over.
It was in your face. It was, but it was a lot of fun as a video game player. It was a really cool experiment that I hope not a lot of people try and replicate, because I don't want to see it become the next found footage thing, because then it'll be overdone and it won't be done right and it'll make you sick. Like, that's the interesting thing, is that we got through a whole 90-minute movie that was first person and what could be considered shaky cam, but I didn't get sick or anything like that. It was tough to follow at some really fast action moments, but outside of that, I didn't get sick or anything. So anyway, it's a long way of saying I really enjoyed the experiment.
We really liked that he didn't get sick.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Indeed. Andrew, did it get you sick, man? You play some first-person shooters, right, man?
Yeah, I felt right at home with this one. Just from the very beginning, the first couple scenes where they really kind of throw the movie right in your face, as far as any of the action, the stunts, the pyro, any of the gore, weapons. I mean, you get everything. You get everything that you want from not just an action movie, but like you said, that first person shooter. You honestly feel like you're catching this stuff. You're in the movie. It was an experience.
Totally immersive. Yeah, that's for sure. Now, Ms. Marcia Parker, somebody who wasn't so keen on this outside perspective, give it to us.
Yeah, going into it, I didn't want to go at all. I even tried to back out of it, but they were very persuasive. So I went, and I was to say my bueno was the writing. I thought they did a really good job, even though the main character didn't have much to say.
Or anything at all.
Spoilers.
All of the other characters played in really well. It really gave you a good sense of what was going on. It kept you intrigued, laughed, and giggled a few times. There's a lot of great kills. a lot of blood, and I think it was a good movie, but it wasn't really for me all the way through because it was all, like you said, it was relentless. It was a lot of stuff coming at you all the time. I even like got sensory overload and ended up falling asleep a couple of times because my eyes couldn't take the onslaught anymore.
Your brain just went into shutdown mode.
It shut down a couple times. I can't do it because like there was a lot of the spinning and like things flying around.
It's almost like the numbness
much.
after a boxer gets hit in the face. So
Yeah, which I mean, I guess that's what it's supposed to do. It is doing their job, but it was way too much for me, and I can handle a lot of that stuff. I don't get sick off of it. I love the like first person perspective. I've done the whole 4D rides when you're jumping around and doing all that, but it just there were a couple times it was really rough.
Was it just the action? Like if they would have kind of toned it down at times.
There was some like the normal. Process of it was generally okay, but then when it got really high action, like it was too much.
Like
when it was repeated, like going like this and spinning and this stuff
there was
going
a lot
on,
of that.
I couldn't.
He did a lot of somersaults.
Tons while he was falling, just like the boop boop boop.
What about like a Hitman idea in this perspective?
I
where
got
it's
the whole
calculating-
Hitman feeling from it. I was like, this really reminds me a lot of Hitman. Like,
Well, that's
I
what it
watch
was.
it a lot. Well, Pete likes to play Hitman, and I like to watch him play it because I'm really bad at it. But
That's what it was trying to duplicate, though.
Yeah.
You know, was that type of perspective.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like from the writing you enjoyed, but it seems like you segued into the Malo just nicely
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I was about to say before we cross over, the one thing that I want to say is dude from District 9. I thought was
great.
the standout performance
Yeah,
for me.
it was a
And-
highlight of the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and I
I mean,
do mean
honestly,
that
the
in
only
the plural
character,
sense.
the
Yeah.
only character who stood out in the whole movie for me, really.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
His was the best characters.
Yes,
Yeah.
we don't want to get too spoilerific with that, but
The other bueno I was going to mention for you, I know, because I was sitting in the seat next to you, and due to the fact that I was bopping in my seat without actually bopping any of my legs, you liked the music in this movie.
I did. It was a very kind of like dark synth, almost 80s.
It really was.
kind of.
It was like a darker 80s action synth, movie score.
Yeah.
I liked it. I felt like it brought the ominous tone when it was necessary, but it didn't really take itself too seriously. It just rode the line perfectly. I
If
liked
you
it.
guys ever played, what was it, Far Cry Blood Dragon, I think it was. It was an 80s action movie with really hilarious 80s synth music. It wasn't far off of that, so I hope I'm not mixing two games together. I know it's Blood Dragon, but
Maybe you just created a game.
yeah, I might have. But anyway,
Blood Dragon.
yeah, no, it's really great. Trust me, it sounds silly because they were purposely trying to make it sound like an 80s action movie. But yeah, the score was great. But anyway,
Nice.
back to what you were saying. I apologize. I just figured you wanted to mention it because my seat was moving enough to know that Fuego liked the music.
Yeah, exactly. Just like with Turbo Kid, if I'm in enough of a proximity to this guy, he knows if I dig
feel
the
it.
soundtrack.
I feel it.
So, yeah, there is a decent amount of Malo to mention with this. I personally, you say the story, I thought the story was paper thin. I thought the story.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Really
too.
nothing
Oh, I
to
didn't
it.
say anything about
And,
story.
No, she
I
said
said the
writing.
writing.
Yeah.
The writing.
Like-
Okay, well.
No,
Like
she's
the
right. No,
joke-
they had to
the actual
write. They had to
scripting of
write
these-
place to place to
Yeah.
place. Like the script had
The
to
set
sort of
pieces,
denote
yeah.
all the set
breathtaking.
pieces and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so she's not wrong. I mean, absolutely, the writing deserves credit just from getting Henry from A all the way to Z by the end of the movie. That does take some skillful writing because it didn't feel like, wait, why are we here all of a sudden?
No.
That's clearly, there's no reason to that.
No.
So to that end, perhaps it's like, the main character didn't have a lot to say, like, he just sort of was understated, so maybe the plot was sort of just a more understated plot.
Yeah.
It sort of
Possibility.
presented itself in a way that wasn't in your face,
I
and
like
so maybe
how-
it felt like it wasn't
Yeah.
there, but maybe it
I like
actually
how
was.
the other characters
But I tend to lean
carried.
your way.
Yeah.
I like how the characters actually carried him throughout the whole thing.
They filled in the exposition
yeah.
where needed.
Yeah.
True, they were. They were the ones driving the plot forward with like giving the internalization.
I just like the
They're
little
ones
jokes.
talking.
and-
yeah.
But beyond the decent amount, it was a mixed bag, as we often know most films are. And so, Andrew, what didn't work for you, man? What was Malo?
I don't want to get too spoilerific, but it was a lot of the in and out. Where
Bit of the old in and out.
he'd get he'd get knocked out, or this something would happen, and it was those cuts there was just like you said, they moved along from A to Z, and you kind of had to just go with, okay, well, they got him from here to there. You know, you accepted a lot of the plot just because it was thrown at you.
You kind of had to.
Yeah.
Well,
there
movies,
was no, like,
movies
I'm
are
questioning
yeah.
that.
They're-
It was
well,
just-
movies constantly change locations. We just accept it because we've seen it. You know, people will be having a conversation and they'll almost be literally mid-sentence in sort of a montage, and they'll be like leaving the grocery store, and then they'll be pulling into their house, finishing the same sentence they began when they were leaving the grocery store, because that's just the way movies work, and we accept it. They can't do that when it's a first-person movie, so basically what'll happen is Henry will close his eyes, and then when he opens them again, essentially, he's in front of a boat. You know, like they've cut out the travel time between here and there.
Out.
Well, no, because even when he's like, after he gets away from a group of gunmen at one point, he closes, and then the location changes because they didn't. You don't want to have to follow Henry as he's walking the 100 yards to the next location. So they close his eyes and he opens them, and boom, he's at the next location. And it wasn't jarring. They had to do that because they don't have the luxury.
I guess I didn't even notice it, but maybe
I didn't notice that either.
Well, that's how subtle it was.
In a natural movie, though, right?
The part that I didn't like
in a new scene
was like the cyborg kind of part with it, where he get knocked down and you kind of get disoriented
little
because it would
glitches
be,
and stuff.
And the fact that they used separate eyes with the cameras, that kind of
it was used to good effect.
It was, but it was disorienting to look around and try and figure out what was going on.
But
there was a lot about the movie.
Well, it works. It's actually sort of scientifically accurate because technically your eyes do see two different pictures. This eye sees this picture, and this eye sees this picture. And it's just our brains arrange them correctly. So if the computing system is glitching and it's not arranging the vision correctly, then you get two different pictures split down the middle. It's actually really interesting and scientifically accurate in a weird way.
I thought it was effectively jarring, personally.
Well,
But that's okay. You can have an opinion.
That was my
I'm not coming down on the opinion at all. No, I'm agreeing and saying it was effectively told and accurate. Yeah.
So MPH, things that didn't work about this particular film for you?
Okay, well, I already kind of went over my Malo, but yeah, one of the biggest thing I just cannot get over is, why does a villain have superpowers?
There was no explanation.
Everybody else is normal.
I honestly hated the villain. That was going to be my comeback to it, Malo. I thought that I was laughing at him at particular points because his lines
were funny, but
Fire Eyes McGee.
Oh my goodness, where
those
he's like,
contacts were so ridiculous.
if I put this moment into a cup of tea, I wouldn't need any sugar.
Oh my God.
We all giggled. It was so
It was
sweet.
so bad.
If it
He
was a
was
cup of tea,
German Euro
sugar.
trash over the top.
Oh, he had like
and
the
somehow-
Hansel hair, like on Zoolander.
He did.
It's so funny.
And inexplicable telekinetic powers.
Yeah,
that
but
were just,
it almost kind of plays into the game, like kind of aspect.
It
because
does,
then
but
when
at
you
least
have
games
those-
try and explain why.
Yeah, there was donuts for explanation.
There was
for
nothing.
really a lot of things.
And realistically, there's no real reason why Henry could battle through it. But somehow.
Well,
Well,
he knocked him out of his senses, I guess.
Yeah.
He ripped his hand, so he had no power.
This
Let's
could
not
even be a
reveal too much,
Feo,
but
though,
yeah.
because of the fact that it was almost like a ugly ripoff in some ways of RoboCop.
Oh,
A little bit, you know,
there
because
was
he was like part human, and yet he still had the recollection.
There was RoboCop. There was a lot of the Raid Redemption, and there was, in fact, another one that I kept thinking of during the movie too. Gosh, what was it now?
And this is not spoilerific because in the trailer you see them like putting new legs on him, and he's being rebuilt. He's like a dead soldier of some sort. And
Yeah,
they
but
don't really
you know,
imply much beyond that.
the Feo that I'm going to jump in with, if that's all right with you, is it's one of those good Feos, and that is the ugliness that was the glorious gore of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's also my Feo too, but for different reasons. I'll get to it.
So much awesome gore as a horror fan. We're doing this for Enfuegotainment, but as he said, it could almost slide into horror show category because there was such blatant death and destruction from headshot blow-ups right in front of the face of the main character to aggressive fan blade goodness. Like, there is so much unbelievable spray in this movie.
It had a similar vibe to Turbo Kid and just the brutality of it, and yet
Well, they tried to keep it more tethered in reality than Turbo Kid did, which is why a lot of people will be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
There were some really, really good kills. A lot of blood. And that's what I really liked about it. When it just got too much, too fast.
So it'd be a good
It was
ugly,
too furious for me. I'm like, ah.
Like, I'm tasting so much blood, all this membrane in my face.
But there's some really fun kills that I would watch again, but maybe not.
The kills
maybe
were
just
very,
small
very
clips.
entertaining.
As a gamer, did they live up to like what you were? Have you seen brutal kills like that and stuff?
I mean, there were a lot of the shock moments I compare to like cutscenes where you don't just play through it. You know, they have the detail. You get the camera splatter. You get that kind of stuff. They use that very well. But even in the fight scenes where it was one guy flies away, he doesn't just fly away. He gets sliced and diced. There's different stuff going on.
People are blown out of the buildings after they throw grenades down the stairwell.
That was so great.
There was one guy who's just like...
It was like a Looney Tunes.
It really was. The violence was to that excessive of a degree.
Oh, and there were a couple of canned screams. Some old Hollywood screams. Like, there was a girl at one point that sort of falls out a window and she screams, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've heard that scream in a million movies. Oh, come on. But man, I loved it. I loved it for the gore alone, honestly. It was a truly successful
gore. How about those hookers?
Obviously, in a first-person game, we had to have some Duke Nukem certified boobs, right?
Oh, there was. Oh, I see. I remember. I was like, what is she talking about? Yeah. But no, there's a very big brothel scene.
Yeah, it was hilariously
on the
ugly
screen and
that
this
they had to
guy's
go to
asleep. What's going on?
Honestly, it's tough to appreciate boobs when they're going by at like a million miles an hour because the dude's like just looking everywhere. Like, I don't know.
Truly.
He's not a normal guy. Most guys will linger. Their vision will linger a little bit.
He was just looking for an enemy the whole time.
He was scanning.
Yeah, truly.
I think he was just trying to figure out what was going on. He's like, wait, what are you doing, Cokehead Jimmy?
Oh my god, that's right. It was Cokehead Jimmy at that point.
Yeah, oh my goodness, putting his face in.
It was so fun.
Yeah, that little bag.
That little bag,
that was like Sin City certified excessive. There's one last fail that I would have to mention. It's probably the fact that we're all so entertained by this ugly disgustery that is this movie. But I mean, it didn't really take itself that seriously, did it?
No, it didn't need to.
Had fun.
Yeah.
We all had fun.
Yes, indeed. Although I'm surprised that it took them so long to make a film like this in the first-person perspective. I mean, remember Sega CD days, man, where they had like the full-motion video, interactive, immersive stuff coming out, and kind of fell by the wayside until we had something like this. So who knows? Maybe the floodgates will open soon. But I gotta extend a grande gracias to all of these cats for joining me for this review here in Enfuegotainment's 2016 coverage. Hardcore Henry, gracias for all of that. We all work on a show together where things are much more spectacular, and we're going to have our fearless leader Cecil here give you a rundown about that.
It's our horror variety show called The Horror Show at youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. Check it out there for movie reviews, how-tos, comedy sketches, celebrity interviews, event coverage, let's plays, all kinds of good stuff. Yeah, the list goes on and on, as the lovely Fuego likes to say.
Indeed. So very diverse. I gotta extend a grande gracias to Andrew Mercer for the assistance. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it was fun being here. Let me know if you want to go see any more shoot 'em up, kill 'em up movies.
Always all about it, man. Throwback to that 80s, 90s glory days of it. And to Ms. MPH, Marcia Parker, obviously the rainbow rules and always in effect at the Horror Show. Thanks, girlie.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here. Hashtag awesome time.
Indeed. Hashtag awesome time and hashtag Jaime En Fuego. Silliness, right? Yeah, but I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube here. And gracias for tuning in until we get to some more coverage of the hottest entertainment with an edge, guys. Hasta luego, sin amigos. But let's try to make it sooner rather than later. Peace.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye. Go see the movie, seriously.
Marcia, would you just please leave already?
Just go see the movie. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And just go.